So autofill has been enabled for everyone and it's causing some issues for people. For those that aren't aware, all draft modes, including normals apparently, now have an automatic autofill enabled. That means if you're queued up for a game and it's taking too long to find your game, it would just stuff you in any available role. Now you can easily see why this would upset some people, especially if they get a role they can't play effectively. Now personally, I'm rather split since there's pros and cons to the autofill system. It doesn't happen all the time and apparently there is some sort of cooldown on it so it doesn't happen to you in succession, but I'm not truly sure about that part. For the most part though, Riot apparently increased the rate at which you get your primary role, so it's created a more skewed queue system. With that in mind, an occasional autofill is just a means of keeping the gears rolling on the system by making everyone take a hit every now and then. It does, however, mean that autofill really ruins the fun for some people and potentially the quality of your games. The benefits of a forced autofill system is that queue times become shorter, which were ridiculously long for some people in the last season. The sheer fact that some roles are grossly unpopular means that those roles are hard to fill, and thus the system has to wait until a player of that role becomes available. Basically put, no one wants to play roles like support, and thus queue times shot up as the system scoured for that one single support player. The obvious flaw, as already stated, is that you might be put in a role that you aren't capable of playing optimally either because you are unprepared or simply inexperienced. I personally cannot play marksman to save my life and being automatically placed there would cause panic. I would be encouraged to Q dodge rather than get crushed and likely disappoint my teammates. Now, some people have proposed a solution to that issue in that Riot should let you negate one role that autofill will never place you in, but according to Riot, they actually tried that and it turned out to increase queue times just as much as before. For the sake of not defeating the purpose of autofill, we cannot negate a role. After that though, some would argue that players should learn every role if they want to be good players, but I find that logic incredibly flawed. For starters, even the best players of League have difficulty in one or two roles. There are two roles that are far stricter and different than the rest, which are jungler and support, with jungler being considered the harder of the roles. I've had challenger friends who played excellent solo laners and or marksmen but cannot jungle to save their lives. It is not unfair to say that players should recognize patterns of different roles, but it is unfair and unrealistic to expect those players to be able to play a role they aren't prepared for as optimally as it would be expected for them in the rank they are. Basically put, a diamond marksman may play like a gold jungler and thus be unprepared to jungle in his own elo. Some are comparing it to how it used to be before, where no one had roles and you had to either pick something before someone else or negotiate with your teammates. Sure enough, it has some elements like that and you could still negotiate with teammates to give you the role you want, but unlike before, you've lost a lot of that personal power. In the past, the system was pretty much first come first serve and you had the team pressure where others could negotiate for you as well, or they'd be encouraged to negotiate for you. Now, if you're labeled as support, most will tell you to suck it up at least more than before. The system itself would punish you if you tried to take some other role from someone else. Personally, I despise longer queue times, so I'm in favor of an autofill system, but I would strongly prefer if it be more refined than it is now. For starters, it sort of tells you that autofill is enabled and perhaps you won't get the role you want, but it should maybe incentivize people to play those roles. Maybe give them more IP or maybe give them more champion mastery for, playing something that is needed right now. Sort of like other games like World of Warcraft do that. Because as it stands now, autofill will always be enabled because there's always some role missing. I've even had people in my Discord and Facebook tell me that even when autofill wasn't enabled, it still sort of autofilled them. I'm not too sure about that, that seems kind of anecdotal, but I wouldn't be too surprised because maybe it enables while the queue is going and it just sort of kind of retroactively places it on you, but it would be nice to know if it is the case. That is simply my biggest gripe with the system. In the past, there were less champions and more uniformity for some roles. Now as the game has evolved, roles require more varied runes than before, at least in order to maximize them against a much more varied cast of opponents they could face. I'll concede the fact that you'll probably have some generalist pages for roles you may be autofilled into, but I was more talking about the main roles you play. The autofill system will hurt those players with so few pages as they can't adequately prepare their main roles while having to equip their potential autofilled roles as well. This is also not taking into account that some players are lacking tons of champions to play in those roles, which was probably exacerbated by the fact that they thought they'd never have to play those champions again, so they didn't buy those types of champions. I personally have not bothered to buy marksmen aside from those that are junglers, so I'd be pretty screwed if I had to play marksman now. Now, there's also no doubt that the amount of trolling and raging has increased with Autofill, as by the fact that dodging has apparently increased, which is anecdotal, and troll picks are in abundance. People will always be dicks, but they'll be more dickish if they feel the system screwed them unwittingly. If the system were to give them a heads up telling them they'll likely be support this game, well, their dickish behavior will be more on them, and they may stop being dicks because they can't excuse it on the game now. Now, if Riot went ahead and made a PSA going like, hey, this is what autofill is, this is what it will do to you, it's gonna happen to you at some point, and if you disobey it, we're gonna ban you or punish you or whatever, and actually follow through on that, I guarantee you trolling and AFKing will at least go down a bit. Basically, right now, not everyone knows what autofill is, as apparent as to some of the posts on Reddit, people thinking it's a bug or something, and of course people feeling sort of screwed by the system, which just get kind of pissy. So if Riot makes it known that this is a thing they're doing and that they will actually punish people who are trolling their teammates, then at least it will quell some people that are trolling and AFKing. Anyhow, I'm just hoping that Riot improves on the system because queue times were definitely horrible last season, and I'd rather have better times in exchange for the occasional game as a marksman where I get whipped. I also have to say though, before some of you brush it off as, it doesn't affect me in any way, I play all roles, well, it does affect you because even though you wouldn't really get harmed by autofill, your teammates will, and their performance will affect you. Now, in the comments below, let me know what you think of this whole autofill business, whether you like it, whether you hate it, whether you don't care, whether you have some ideas to improve the system. I'd like to know. Put them in the comments below, and have a good day. This channel is supported by my sponsors, Crunchyroll and Loot Crate. Check out the description below for links to the websites. Signing up for any trials, including Crunchyroll's free anime trial, greatly supports my channel. Also remember to give the video a like to support the channel and subscribe if you haven't yet.